Hi, my name's Don Egan. I'm the founder of RSVP Trust, where lives are transformed and the poor are empowered. And this is the way of peace. So today we're going to be looking at something that Jesus said about love that sounds simple, but actually isn't as simple as we think it is. So today we're in Mark chapter 12 and verse 28, if you want to follow along. One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, "Of all the commandments, which is the most important?" "The most important one," Jesus answered, "is this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this. Love your neighbour as you love yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." "Well said, teacher," the man replied. "You are right in saying that God is one and there is no other but him. To love him with all your heart, with all your understanding, and with all your strength, and to love your neighbour as yourself is more important than all burnt offerings and sacrifices." When Jesus saw that he had answered wisely, he said to him, "You are not far from the kingdom of God." So what did Jesus mean when he said to this man, "You're not far from the kingdom of God"? Because the guy had asked which is the most important commandment, and Jesus said there are two. There's love God and then love your neighbour as you love yourself. And the man kind of agreed with that. And then Jesus said, "You're not far from the kingdom of God." So what could it be that the man was missing? So he wasn't far from the kingdom of God, which would imply he's not quite reached the kingdom of God. So what did Jesus mean? Of course, Jesus could have meant almost anything because his answers were often quite cryptic. But one thing I think he could have meant that a lot of people miss, and indeed I missed for many years, in this reading is the phrase, "love yourself." Well, where did he say that, you said? But in the second of the commandments he highlights, he says, "Love your neighbour as you love yourself." So let's just break that apart for a minute, because many of us think, yeah, I love my neighbour as myself. I do good to others. I help the poor. I donate to charity. All those kinds of things. And that's kind of outward looking, and that's good to look outward beyond yourself. Jesus includes another type of love in this statement, not the one about loving God or loving our neighbour. We've seen those two. Most people look at those two. But hidden in that phrase, "love your neighbour as yourself," is the phrase, "love yourself." And that's the one that people miss. And I'm not talking about being some sort of narcissist who only ever thinks of themselves, but we really need to love ourselves if we're going to love others. For example, Jesus didn't say, "Loathe your neighbours as you loathe yourself." He said, "Love your neighbours as you love yourself." And today in our sophisticated world, there are all sorts of demands placed upon us, and stuff happens in life. Sometimes it comes from other people, sometimes it comes through our own actions and bad choices, but stuff happens and it can create trauma or stress or a life incident that really sets us back, and we can despise ourselves or loathe ourselves. And we carry that around and try to do our best. But with that issue inside us, it's very difficult to love your neighbour as yourself if you don't love yourself. But why would anyone loathe themselves or even hate themselves or despise themselves? Well, stuff happens, like I said. It could be trauma, could be bullying, could be grief, any sort of sudden loss, just some incident that happens that really devastates us. And the younger we are when this happens, the bigger effect it's likely to have. Such events of life can really screw us up internally, emotionally, spiritually. The good news is we can get free. It may take time, it may take effort, it may take us doing something we didn't really want to do or we didn't really want to face, but we can come to a much better place, a much more peaceful place inside us. Now, I had several events back in my 20s that really devastated me, not least when my son died and also both my parents in the same year. I've written about my journey through my trauma in a book called Jaded Heart. I'll leave a link to the book in the description below. It's not the whole story, but it does explore some of the ways to get a breakthrough in some of the areas that you might be struggling with. And it explores all the coping mechanisms that people use when they're traumatised, the addictions to alcohol, shopping, caffeine. It really could be anything, and we use those as a coping mechanism. And we may come to a point when those coping mechanisms are shown that they're not sustainable, they're ill-advised, and maybe they help for a little while, but you can't make a lifestyle out of them, because they not only dampen down the bad feelings, but they dampen down the good feelings too, and we can end up just being the shell of a human, whereas life could be much better if we go on this journey to healing. Basically, if you get to know most people, you will discover there is a wound, let's call it that. There's some wound that happened, and just like a physical wound, it's left a scar, and sometimes it can be tender. You just get to know anybody really, and you talk about their life in the past. You're probably going to find that there's some wound, something that happened when they're a child, a teenager, or in their early 20s, something happened and it's completely devastated them. They've tried to overcome it, but that wound remains, and it's that thing that we have to try and overcome. And what happens is we go into life trying to hide the wound, not talking about it, hoping it'll go away. And it does affect our decisions and our life choices, but it's there all the time. And it's such a pain to have something like that, but there is a way through. As I'm speaking, if you think, hang on, this guy's talking about me when I talk about addictions, alcohol, caffeine, shopping, all sorts of other addictions, don't be hard on yourself. These addictions, don't worry about them too much, because they are symptoms of the problem. They're not the problem themselves. Now, you can overcome them, and you should attempt to overcome addictions because they're not good for us. But don't think that that's the main problem. The main problem is the wound, the thing that's hurt us, and we're just using our addiction to dampen down the feelings about the thing in the past, rather than actually working through the issues that the wound brings. The whole point, I think, of the message of Jesus about love yourself before you can love your neighbour as you love yourself. I think the whole purpose is that we need to be nurturing to ourselves. One of the things the wound can do, especially if it's been something like bullying, is we can internalise the voice of the bully, or we internalise the voice of the trauma that happened to us. And what we need to do is start internalising a much more nurturing voice that finds within us the real us, the inner child, the one that is hurting, and we nurture that inner child. And we begin to do this through self-care. One of the most powerful questions I was asked by a counsellor was, what do you do for yourself? And I honestly couldn't answer. I was running around, I run a charity, so running around helping people in Africa, helping people in the UK, helping friends and family, helping all those others, but never really doing anything just for me. So you may think if you've got an addiction that that's the thing you do for you, but it really isn't any good. What we really need to find is the answer to that question. What do you do for you? What do you do to nurture yourself? What do you do that's just for you? It's not people pleasing, it's not trying to impress the world, it's just something for you. So I want to ask you that question. What do you do in life that's just for you, that nurtures you, that builds you up, that keeps you having a healthy relationship with yourself? So we'll look at some of these deeper issues in future videos, but I don't want to just stir up something unpleasant from your past and leave you there. So I just want you to meditate after you've watched this video. Just find a place where you can be alone sometime today or immediately after watching this video. And just let's shorten that phrase of Jesus, love others as you love yourself. Let's just take the others out, we'll love them later. And just meditate on that instruction from Jesus to love yourself. Meditate on the question, how do I love myself? How do I nurture myself? How do I protect myself? If it's helpful, imagine the younger you, the inner child inside, and nurture that child. What is that child asking for? Strip away any addictions we may have and listen to the voice of the inner child. What are they asking for? What is their desire? And can we nurture that inner child? Because that's you. And my inner child is me. And we need to look after that precious, precious gift of life that we've been given. So thanks for joining me today. I really appreciate our time together. If you found value in this video, do visit our website, rsvptrust.co.uk/way of peace. So if you found these videos helpful, don't forget you can become a partner with us and support us in all our work, both here and in Africa and in these videos, by going to rsvptrust.co.uk/donate, and you can become a partner with us in those things. Also, if you've enjoyed this video today, don't forget to give us a thumbs up on YouTube and click the red subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.